Welcome to the second match of the first tournament. As the starting player this time we have Viktor and his opponent is Nicklas. Having placed the capital, Viktor now needs to play a card. To choose from, he has 2 bunkers, 2 rurals, a suburb, 1 artillery and 2 tanks. It would make sense to keep all the attack cards, given that there are no red tiles to attack. And sure enough, he plays a bunker. In the early game, this is a very common strategy. Usually you will see the players use the early rounds in order to try and secure the capital with specifically bunkers. The reason has to do with the amount of points. Whoever owns it, and most of the tiles next to it, gets 5 extra points, which is more than enough points to have a really big impact. It's also very common in the early game to play suburbs or rurals, like what Nicklas just did. The point is, it doesn't really seem worth using attack cards this early. As to why Nicklas played a points card instead of the bunker, he only has a single bunker, and all of the spaces next to the capital hasn't been taken yet, so there is no rush to play it. And to keep a bunker towards the mid-game is sometimes very useful. I want to make clear though, that to play points cards this early isn't really a bad thing. Sure, you are likely to lose them, but taking them back again is usually easy enough, and to lose tiles usually means that you unlock opportunities to take back more tiles than you lost in the first place. Viktor plays the suburb. The question is now, what should Nicklas do? There is only 1 space left next to the capital. Placing a bunker right there is a really good move for Nicklas to make. It reduces the risk that Viktor can take the capital. It also reduces the risk that Viktor is able to secure majority around the capital, which would otherwise give Viktor the 5 extra points. Placing a rural behind a friendly bunker like what Viktor just did is another good strategy. The only tile that could really hurt is if Nicklas could play an artillery next to it. The problem for Nicklas is that an artillery could be a lot more useful somewhere else. And also, Viktor might have an artillery or tank to counterattack with, and if that happens, then Nicklas would have wasted a really good tile. The question is, what should Nicklas do at this point? He has got 1 rural, 2 artilleries, and 2 tanks left. Like we talked about before, a rural behind a friendly bunker is a really good play. The problem for Viktor is that we are currently in the mid-game, and he doesn't yet have a commanding lead. In this match, Nicklas will get to play the last card, and in 9 times out of 10, the last card is going to be an attack card. As the starting player, you need to keep that in mind. You pretty much need a point lead once you played your last card. And you also need to have made sure that the options left for the opponent, in this case Nicklas, aren't that good. It seems like Viktor wants to place the rural right here. If that's the case, he would get extra points from his suburb, but since there is a red tank right next to the suburb, that would make a tempting target for Nicklas. He could use a tank to take both the rural and the suburb, but he sees another opportunity. The problem now is that since the suburb is still blue, Nicklas has now given Viktor a chance to take the red artillery and rural using a tank. The capital is important, and by doing this, Viktor might get the ability next turn to take the capital with a tank, assuming that Nicklas doesn't take back the suburb next to the capital. Unfortunately for Viktor, it didn't work. Keep in mind that Viktor really needs a point lead very soon, and with only 2 cards left, he needs to figure something out. If I were him, I would probably take the red suburb. By looking at which tiles Nicklas have left, Viktor knows that Nicklas might have any combination of a bunker, rural, or tank. Maybe 2 tanks? It's unlikely that he still has a bunker. Usually these are played in the early or mid game, and the same is true for rurals. And if we assume this, then that means that Nicklas has 2 tanks left. And if that's the case, then there would be no way for Nicklas to take back the suburb. This would then give Viktor the opportunity to take the red tank and capital as his final move. And given that Viktor has 2 bunkers right next to this suburb that Nicklas can't take back, makes this move even better. Nicklas decides to play the choice that makes the most sense. The other option would have been to go for the blue suburb, but that would have opened up an attack on the capital that he wouldn't have been able to defend against. At this point, Viktor has a big decision to make. This is his last card, and we know it's a tank. The question is, where could he place his last tank in order to gain as many points as possible, while at the same time making sure not to give Nicklas any good moves for his last card? Taking the tank and capital, like I talked about before, is a very dangerous move for Viktor at this point. If Nicklas has a tank, which we know he does, Nicklas could then use his last tank to take the entire row back. Viktor plays a tank and takes 1 artillery and 1 rural. Currently he's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 points in total. While Nicklas has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 points in total. Nicklas plays his last tank and it seems to be very well placed. Viktor has lost 3 points and Nicklas has gained 5 points, meaning an 8-point difference in favor of Nicklas. The final scoring gives Viktor 11 points in total, and Nicklas is the winner of this match with 15 points in total. Thank you so much for watching. If you have any ideas for how I can improve future videos, please don't hesitate to write a comment down below.